Hi guys, my name's Jamie from Biodome Systems and welcome to the workshop. So today we're going to be trying to upgrade our track saw and see if we can save a few £100 in the process. And to start with, I'm just basically going to lay out what the problem is, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to solve it for much cheaper than a solution that you can buy off the shelf. So if we want to use our track saw and we want to cut our piece of plywood or MDF or something to a certain length, what we would normally have to do is we'd take our tape measure. Let's say we want to go and cut this at 1,000 millimeters long. So we put a mark here at 100 centimeters, and then we put another mark, say here for example, at 100, and then I'd put another mark around here at 100. And then what I'd have to do is line my track up with those marks, like so. So it would be something like that, and then I would scribe a line all the way down the workpiece, which you may or may, yeah, I think you can see that line there. And then basically when the track saw is lined up with that, we would clip the track saw into this and cut off 1,000 millimeters. So that's fine, and that works well. And if that's all you've got, then yeah, you can get really good repeatable cuts with the track saw. And it's not a major problem, but the reason we want to adjust this is if we have to say, let's say we have 10 sheets of plywood that we need to cut, and we need to cut out 100 millimeters, 1,000 millimeters every single time. You can see there, like we had to do at least 3 measurements across the board just to keep it square. So a major problem with that is each one of those marks could introduce an error. So you could be 1 mil out one way, 1 mil out the other. And even there I can see I actually slightly missed my 1,000 mil mark. So this would actually end up being 99 at this end and 1,000 at that end. So it wouldn't be square. So what we want to do is we want to create something that's going to have repeatability every single time that we go to make a cut of that kind of length. So there's a few options available on the market that can do this for you. So there's an option from Woodpecker, there's an option from a company called TSO, and Festool, who make the tracks and the track saws. They also offer their own solution, but they're very expensive. They range from maybe £150 up to £350, and probably the sky's the limit. So the way that they solve that problem is they use something called parallel guides. So if I just flip this track round and we pop that on that, roughly on that 1,000 millimeter line, the Festool and the Woodpecker options, they clip into the track and they have a rail that comes off this way with a stop on the end, and you can set the length of that stop. And you have a second rail up here that comes off, also marked to the same distance, and essentially you just line those stops up, and that keeps your track square and it keeps it at the right distance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you in a bit closer and I'm going to show you what we're going to make. I reckon we can make it for 30 quid. So let's see if we can improve on the track saw and save a few £100 in the process. Right, okay, so all spread out across the table here, we've got everything we need to set up our parallel rail system. We've got 2 of these aluminium T-slot extrusions. Just try and show you the end profile of that there. So that accepts a T-slot nut. We've got a few knobs with bolts pressed into them. We've got these angled pieces. So these angled pieces, they clip into the back of the rail like this. And a small bar goes underneath with some knobs on to retain that. So I'll just set that piece up first. So you're going to take one of these locking bars, insert an M5 nut, take an M5 bolt and knob, put that in there, and just tighten that down. Same again on this side, another M5 nut, another bolt. That's going to screw in there like so, and then now that locking bar can be slid in underneath. And the whole assembly can go on like so. You can slide all along the rail and you can lock that in anywhere you like. Next thing we want to do is we want a way to attach these two pieces together, like so. And to do that, we're going to use these M6 T-nuts that I've 3D printed, and I've tapped the hole in the middle, M6, but you can buy these online. Obviously it's black and it's a bit far away, so it's quite hard to see. So we're just going to thread into one of those on the bottom. And then we want a second one. So these are the M6 nuts and bolts. Okay, and then that threads into there. Just put that to one side for the second. Okay, so we're going to take our T-slot track, and then we're going to align these with the M6 nuts. And with these T-slot nuts and aluminium profiles, they're always a bit fiddly, but once you get it together, it's quite a good system. And it locks together quite nicely. There you go. Right, so we've got that in there. We'll tighten up this knob. We'll tighten up this one. Okay. And now we're going to take one of our stops. This also needs one of the M6 T-nuts and an M6 bolt. So I'm just placing the T-nut inside there. Like I say, it's all a bit fiddly, but once you get it together and you get it onto the rail, then it should be quite easy to use. Cool, so that's in there. And then we're just going to slide that onto here. You can see that went on nice and easily. Right, so now we've got our stop block on there. We can slide this to any point along the rail and we can lock it in. And obviously this is a set of two, so I'm just going to make up the next one off camera quickly. I'm going to show you how we're going to attach the tape measure to the rail so that we can take exact measurements, and then I'll show you a cut. Okay, so here we are now. We've got our rail and our T block. It's mounted onto our track. This is called I think it's called the Splinter edge of the track. It's just like a rubber flap. That has to be cut exactly to the edge of your blade, because we're going to start taking measurements and we're going to need this point for our measurements. So that needs to be precise. And then what we're going to do is we're going to measure from the end of our rail, and we're going to come across and we're going to note down this number. This is 1191 millimeters, so it's 1191 millimeters. So I'll just unwrap my tape measure here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find 1191. And we're going to cut our tape measure to that length. And there we have it, 1191. And I should mention that this aluminium rail is 1 meter long, so it's 1 meter plus the length of the track itself. Okay, now I'm just going to fiddle around peeling the self-adhesive backing off the back of this tape measure. You can get these tape measures on Amazon or eBay for like £3. You just search for self-adhesive tape measure, they're pretty common. I got it with like a silver looking style because it matches the aluminium really nice and it gives it like quite a professional look. So here we want to be careful because we really need to line this up accurately, because all of our cuts are going to be determined based off of this measurement here. Right, so I've got that started. And you do want to try and do a neat job putting this on as well, because once it's on you probably can't really adjust it. So slow and steady wins the race here, guys. Okay, and obviously we only need the markings to the end of this measuring, the actual measuring stick, but I am just going to run it out the rest of the way and just make sure that we get very close to the end. That looks really good to me there. I can see that finishes, the black line finishes right on the edge of the splinter strip, so that's good. So now I'm just going to press this down, get out any air bubbles or anything, make sure it's really well adhered. Right, so that's on there really good. You can see that there, so we've got all of our tape measure markings. I'm going to take my knife, just going to cut off here, because we can't measure to that point anyway. Okay. And now when we put on our stop block, wherever we slide that to, right there we've got a cut that's going to give us a 76cm cut right there, which is 76cm from this point to the front of the track, so that's exactly where the blade's going to cut. And that is how we set up the parallel guide. So I'll just set up the other one quickly and then we'll do a cut. Okay, so that cut there, I wanted it to be 1710mm, and you can see that we are pretty much bang on the money there. We might be half a mil over. Okay, so that's the end of the video. As you can see, probably in about 15 minutes worth of work and £30 worth of materials, we've saved roughly, I would say, £120 compared to using festool parallel guides, and we've saved something like £300 compared to using the woodpecker branded version. Yep, so for me that's not bad for 15 minutes work and a bit of time on the 3D printer. That is it for this video, guys. I've got some more ideas coming up on how we can make some high quality tools and save a ton of money in the process. So stay tuned for those videos coming up soon, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.